What's up, Brick Youth? Boy, it is good to see your faces. In case you haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Taylor. I get the great privilege of being your student pastor here at the Brick Church. If you're new with us, we've been in a series called Paul and Friends. And really what we've been doing is we're processing what, in my opinion, is probably the greatest revivalist in history. Okay, when you look at what God did in one person outside of Jesus, I'm not sure you can find someone who God created a bigger ripple effect than Paul. And more specifically, what we've been doing is looking at his friends. Okay, what are the kind of people Paul did life with? Because I believe if you were called to occupy all streets, which I do believe, then I think we need to have a conversation. But what are the kind of people we are called to surround ourselves with as we endeavor to realize the call that God has on our life? And so tonight, we were talking about a relationship between a really young dude named Timothy and his mentor, Paul. And theologians have a whole lot of takes on ages, but a lot of them essentially believe that Timothy is really right around the same age as you. Right? Anywhere from 16 to 20, which means smack dab in the middle of your guys' reality. So if we're going to talk about occupying streets, I think it's really cool to think that there's someone in Scripture like Timothy who followed Paul, who was friends with Paul, who did life with Paul, that I think we can learn a lot from. My belief is before I'm done, I hope to give you guys a blueprint for how you can catch your life on fire. How the call of God on your life can become so bright. That there's such a deep belief that not only you have a calling, but you understand that you can make this thing a reality. That God has a desire to not just give you dreams, but fulfill them. Okay, so what does that look like for us? And our key passage that we're jumping out of today is 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6. It reads like this. For this reason, I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. This is Paul writing to Timothy. And you heard me say something earlier, and I'm going to say it again, and you've heard us say it 1,000 times over the years, and that is that we believe you were created on purpose for a purpose. Like you just didn't get here by accident. There's not breath in your lungs by happenstance, that there is a good God out there who has an unbelievable plan, and he has a desire to fulfill that through you. Okay, you have a purpose. You were created on purpose for a purpose. There's something deep inside you that God is trying to burn bright. There's a fire inside you that God is trying to give fuel to. And this thing right here is a lamp. Anybody ever seen a lamp before? Like a fire lamp? Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I've actually never really used one of these, so I practice a little bit of this. But here's the thing, right? I want to have this thing burning the whole time as like a picture of what it looks like to have a fire burning. Right, this thing right here, lamp. Everybody say lamp. Good job. You guys are killing grammar. So here's the thing. What's unique about this lamp is the degree to how much oxygen I expose it to will determine how bright the flame gets. And what I need you to understand is that in the journey of following the call of God on your life, you have a part to play in your story. That the fuel that we feed the call of God, the fire of God, if you will, the passions and dreams that he's put inside of us, okay, we have a piece to play in it. The way I would say it is that you have a responsibility to develop your gift. The dreams that God has for you, they don't just show up. Okay, you and I have a part to play in that story. And that's really what Paul is saying to Timothy. He's saying, fan into flame the gift of God that was put in you through the laying on of my hands. You see, for me growing up, there was something that was really true about me. And that was like, there was no room that was ever left the same when I walked into it. Now, that can sound braggadocious, except it was almost never good. Like, in almost every case, if I showed up on the scene, it was worse, not better. Like, for example, like the first time I met my grandpa, I was like a year and a half old. And the very first thing I do when they hand me to him is I punch him straight in the face. Now, that's funny until you realize that for like 16 years, that was pretty much the MO of my life. Show up, create chaos, sucks for you. Right? Like, not a good play to play, really terrible time. And honestly, like, it's kind of humorous, except for the fact that it's really, really rough to realize that in almost every room you're walking into, you create chaos without really trying. That like, there's an effect you're having on the room, and oftentimes it's really, really negative. Until somewhere along the line, people started telling me that thing could also be a gift. Because yeah, I remember when I got to the Brick Church for the first time. One of the first things your lead pastor, Jared, really like spent all his time reminding me is that when I walk into a room, I affect it. And what if instead of just kind of showing up haphazardly, you were intentional about what it looked like before you got there? Okay, what if you thought through how you started your morning? What if you thought through how you prayed? What if you thought through what you said before you said it? Crazy, right? Because see, over the years, what I've learned is that thing that could create chaos also creates life. That thing in me that at times really, really difficult in God's hands became one of the greatest gifts God's ever given me. Right? So today, hopefully, more often than not, when I show up, the room is better, not worse. But what I need you to understand is that didn't happen by accident. It took time, it took processing, it took asking questions, it took being around people, it took doing the work to get the gift that God gave me to be fanned into flame. It's active language. Here's the thing about potential, is that's all it is. Right? Like this lighter you saw me light this lamp up with. Like it has the potential to set fire. There's fuel inside this, there's an ignition. Like this thing right here has literally the potential to set like this entire stage on fire. In fact, so much so that Jared was exactly a little bit nervous about the idea of me messing with fire today. So this thing has a lot of potential to do a lot of things. It's all inside here. But the thing about it is, if I don't do anything to it, that's all it is. It's got fuel, it can make fire, it has potential, but until I strike it, there is no flame. And what I would say to you is that you guys are much like this, that I am much like this, that there's a dream, there's a purpose, there's a call of God on your life, but if you don't strike it, that's all it is just potential. And what I want you to know is that you have a part to play in your story. Honestly, it's one of the most beautiful things in the world that a good God would allow us to be a part of the journey of following him. That the decisions you and I make every day, they matter in the journey of becoming who God's called us to be. It's just potential until it's sparked. And for a lot of you, and I know where I was, the question is like, really, I don't got a whole lot of gifts, except for like, it's not always just being able to preach on a stage or be incredible at basketball. For some of you, you're like incredibly good at thinking outside the box. In fact, some of you probably irritate your teachers because when they say something is a certain way, you're like, but I mean, what about this? Right? Like you can never just let it be what they say. Like you've got 14 other scenarios in which like, I mean, maybe, but what if we did this or what that happened, right? No, you're actually creative. You're not just creating chaos. You see the world differently. And that's a gift. For some of you, you have the ability to just create a squad. Here's how I know, because some of y'all from a Wednesday to Wednesday can completely affect the room. But like I know, like I'll have some Wednesdays where it's like, oh my gosh, this whole side of the room is just with me. Like y'all are in it. And then other times I'm like, what is happening? And it's like one of y'all said something funny and you just took a whole row out with you, right? Like your energy can shift this entire room. Right? Like last Wednesday night, we had camp night and it was wild in here and God was doing incredible things. You know why? Because the vast majority of you decided to show up expecting God to do something wild. Some of you are incredible leaders. You just don't see it the way that God sees it. Some of you are unbelievably gifted at making people feel special. Like you are the person in the friend group who when someone is having a bad day before they ever have to say it, you see it. Like you are the person that everyone runs to find comfort. Man, that's a gift. In fact, it's one that I wish I was better at. You have the ability to make people feel seen and loved and heard. Some of you have incredible problem-solving skills. Like you are the person when everything goes crazy, everyone wants you on their team. Right? If the teacher didn't give very good instructions, you're the person people pick to want to be on the group project with because they just know you will find a way to get the thing done. You have gifts, but you also have a part to play in developing the gift. It is your responsibility to fan into flame the gift that God has put in you. For some of you in here, it's like, well, I don't know what my gift is. No, you have one. Let's just grid on that page, right? Again, created on purpose for a purpose. I've got a few questions I want you to ask if you're trying to process what my gift is. Here's the first one, is what's one thing you're naturally good at? Like, it could be anything, right? Just for whatever reason, you just seem to have a flow. Maybe you can't explain it, but when you picked that thing up, it was effortless for you. It's like, oh, wow, that was not as hard for me as it was for everybody else. Here's another one. The question I want you to do is once you find that out, I want you to ask, what's one thing you can do to make it a little bit better? One thing. What is one thing you can do to be intentional about seeing that thing get better? And I promise you, if you'll run that play more days than you don't, the call of God, the gift of God, the purposes of God will manifest in your life. All it takes is you deciding to be a part of the journey that God's called you to. Here's the thing, though. It's not just your part to play in the story. Because see, what I think we see in the story, in the journey of Paul and Timothy, is who's shaping you matters. Again, like last week, we talked about who's in your cell. Like who you do life with matters. Like I had two friends growing up, and their names were Zach and Vincent. And who I was astronomically different depending on which friend I was around. Right, when I was with Zach, like I was doing all the best I knew to, right? Still messy, still trying to figure out, really young. But Zach had this unique ability of kind of always having me in the right rooms. Right, so like I knew at the very least we were gonna have enough people around that are gonna keep us from doing something crazy. Zach had this really cool ability to encourage. He had this unique ability to just make things fun that didn't require us doing things we shouldn't do. Now, when I was with Vincent, it was like all the old plays came back. Right, I mean, just like we did dumb stuff for the sake of doing dumb stuff. Like, and I don't have any other explanation for you other than like, he probably said something like, I bet you won't do that. And then off we went to the races, creating chaos. Like there was just something about being around Vincent that brought the worst out of me and me out of him. What's interesting is the people you speak in your life are doing the exact same thing to you. Whether I was with Zach or whether I was with Vincent, it really dictated the version of me. None of you can escape that truth. I can't escape that truth. The people we surround ourselves with have a massive, massive impact on the type of people that we are and what we do. My question for you is I wonder if for some of us, like the version of who we are here on Wednesday is a little bit different than the version of who we are at school tomorrow and Thursday. If that's true, then the question I think we might start processing is what exactly is feeding us? Like who is shaping us? Timothy had Paul who was all in. I mean, we talked about his story last week. It was crazy. Like the dude had been beaten and put in jail and shipwrecked. Like the person shaping Timothy was about this to life. And so the influences he had was telling him, no, you can create all kinds of beautiful things if you just trust God with your story. If you'll let him work through you, you can see the impossible happen. When Paul was laying hands on Timothy, it wasn't just putting hands on Timothy for the sake of praying for him. No, like he was imparting dreams and passion and vision and hope and calling out the gift of God in his life. Like who shaped Timothy completely altered the life that he would have. Who's pouring into you? Like who are the people that have access to your heart? Who are the people that are speaking into how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself? I'm not gonna make you do this because I'll never get you back. But if I asked you to pull out your phone, I'm curious, who are the 5 people you've texted the most this week? And I can almost guarantee you that those 5 conversations would communicate the way you feel today. Because who you spend the most amount of time around has a massive impact on who you are. I wonder, like, who are the 5 people you follow the most on Instagram? Like when you go looking at people's stories, who do you find yourself gravitating towards? And I would bet that it speaks a lot to the way you feel about yourself, the way that you see yourself, and the way you believe what God can or can't do through you. Who's shaping you has a massive, massive impact. The people in your life are shaping you. You can't change that, but you can control who you allow to be in your life that shape you. Because again, the gift of God in your life is your responsibility and it's mine. The way I would say it is that your life will follow your inputs. What you're putting into your heart will communicate so much about your future. See, Luke says it like this in chapter 6, verse 45. It says, as a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. The mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Who's pouring into you? What are your inputs? What are you receiving? What are you meditating on? What are you thinking on? What are you listening to? Because if you're not intentional about that, the type of person you will be from day to day could be night and day. You could be just like me with Zach and Vincent. And some days are great and other days are really, really bad. And if you want to live a life on purpose, if you want to fan the flame and the gift of God in your life, then you're going to have to be intentional about who you do life with. I think the question we really ask is like, well, who should be pouring into us? Because that was always my thing is like, well, how do I decide? Like, what's the right kind of person to hang out with? What's the lines? I've got a few questions. One is, are they fanning the gift of God in your life into flame or are they putting it out? Like when you start dreaming, right, you start activating, you start talking about all the cool things that you think God could do or what you want to see. When you get those people in your life, are they like, let's go. Like that's the play. Do that thing. Or they're like, nah, like it does not take all that. Church camp, you ain't got to go that. Not a big deal. That'd be cool for all them people. But like, it is not that necessary, right? Or maybe for you, it's like, I'm really going to lock into like reading scripture this week. And they're like, for what, bro? Or they like, you know what? That's actually a beautiful idea. Let me do it with you. All right, let's just do a verse a day and just talk about what stood out for us. Right, what are they doing? Are they fanning the flame? Are they pointing you towards your purpose, or are they distracting you from it? Right, do you find yourself having the people who are pushing you towards the best version of yourself, or are they pulling you away from who you feel like God's called you to be? Those are the types of people we want, ones that push us forward, the ones that are speaking life into us. If we can do that, then the gift and the fan of flame of God in your life gets brighter and bigger. I wonder if Timothy would have chosen a different mentor if we'd ever heard his name. Who is Timothy if he picks differently? And my question for you is, when you get to my age, 31, are you going to look back and be like, man, I really did surround myself with some awesome people? Or are you going to wish you would have spent your high school years completely different? The beauty is that you can do anything today. Today is a new day. Tomorrow is a new day. You can do anything. You can change rhythms. You just have to decide it's worth the work. But here's the third part that I think sometimes gets missed for us. And that is, who are you shaping? Like, who are you impacting? Who are you speaking into? What kind of friend are you? What kind of friend am I? Are we the kind of people who are pushing people to the purposes, or are we pulling them back from them? See, I think the thing is that for a lot of times we really start doing this whole thing where it's like, well, we can't lead because no one's asking me to. Or there's not like an opportunity to lead. Or for some of us, it's like, nah, we're too young, we can't. Maybe your mama told you that, your teacher told you, I don't know how you landed on that plane. But all of us have reasons why we think like, well, we can't shape no one, we're too young. Except there's this moment where Paul really doesn't give Timothy that excuse. See, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12 says this: don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct, in love and faith and in purity. See, what Paul is saying to Timothy is you can lead right now. Like, this is not an age thing. This is not an opportunity thing. This is the thing you can decide to do today. And I'm telling you the very same thing today that Paul told Timothy so many thousands of years ago. And that is exactly where you are today, you can lead. I mean, you've heard us say that all year long: occupy the street in front of you. Why? Because you can actually do it. Like, I don't think we're just kind of dangling a carrot in front of you. I actually think that if we all in this room just decide to get real serious about becoming who God's called us to be, that we would get real serious about chasing Jesus and all that he is and wanting to be before him and let him shape who we become. I think if we all just decide to do that more days than we didn't, this city is completely different. Your hallways are completely different. Your homes are completely different. Your relationships are completely different. And it really starts with us making a decision. You know what? Like, we're going to do what God's called us to. And I want you to be asking yourself, who are you shaping? You see, age is no limitation, it's a qualification. Today, in your seat, in your place, you can change a lot of things. And one of my favorite examples of this is actually of Chris Riley and your associate pastor, Preston. You see, when Preston came around, he was 16, and honestly, he's kind of like your atypical student. What I mean by that is, like, he was just kind of here. You know, like, I want to have a good time and just kind of hanging out, right? Like, and if you had any time around Preston, like, he had lots of questions, but low-key, like, thought he had all the answers. Now, Preston's real, like, humble, so, like, he wouldn't necessarily tell you that, but you knew, like, when he asked a question, Preston definitely had an idea of how that should go. And I have watched God do some things in Preston's heart through the years. He started playing drums on the stage and, you know, just doing what God put in front of him. And then I watched him, you know, grow and develop, and I watched God take him on some journeys, and he went to other churches and played music there. And then somewhere along the line, when he was about 18, 19, God said, it's time to come back to the Brick. And he showed up. But this Preston was different. This one's like, you know what? I'm sending this. I want to get everything God's got for me. I want to become everything God's called me to be. And at 19 years old, he started leading our production team, which is wild. Who puts a teenager over a bunch of adults? We did it. And what's cool about Preston is, you know, he didn't wait until he had a title to start leading. He just showed up. And he was just faithful. You see, along Preston's journey, his cousin Chris was there. And man, y'all should have met Chris back in the day. And, you know, Preston's there and they're just doing life together, man. And I think that's what we do sometimes. We overcomplicate how you can make an impact on somebody. Just living in front of people can change so many things. That's exactly what Preston did. And him and Chris are vibing and they're asking questions. And slowly but surely, I start seeing the same thing kind of begin in Chris that began in Preston. I started seeing Chris ask some questions. I started seeing Chris take some steps. I started seeing Chris get a little risky, being like, I don't know, bro, like this might fall apart, but he said to do it. I'm gonna give my best shot at it. And I just watched him time and time again take the step in front of us. So like today, Preston's not the tech team dude. He's your associate youth pastor. He's leading us every Wednesday. He's been doing sermons all year long. He's encouraging you every week to chase the call of God on your life. Why? Because just like you, he was sitting in the same seats as you. But it didn't just stop with Preston, because Preston was who God called him to be every day as best he could. He wasn't perfect. I promise you, there's some advice he gave Chris that if he could go back again, he'd be like, you know what, bro? That was a bad one. You should not have played that play. But because Preston just did what was in front of him. You see, Chris doesn't just attend our church. He's up here on the stage communicating. He's out there in the streets. Got some of y'all out there holding signs. Y'all are wild on that street, honestly. Like, it's wild what y'all are doing. But not just that, he's actually producing our podcast, No Walls. Like, because Preston was faithful what was in front of him, his cousin Chris caught that same fire. God started doing something in his life. And now today, you and I get to be in the same room where both of them lead us on Wednesdays. That's not exclusive to them. That's not exclusive to me. That's not exclusive to Timothy. That's true for you every day. That the life you are living can absolutely, without question, where you are at your age in this very moment, make a massive impact on the people around you. Someone is always watching. For some of you, it's your siblings. You got younger siblings, and they are absolutely watching. Some of y'all can't stand how well they watch you because they want to do the same things, or they want to wear your clothes, or they want to follow you around. Some of you got teammates and classmates who are watching you. They're paying attention to what you're doing and how you talk and what you say and the way you make them feel. People are watching. That kid in your school who just sits by himself and you've known for like 6 months, you just go say hi to that guy and you keep missing it and you keep walking away from it. What would happen if this week you changed your mind? You know what? I'm just go say hi. There are people all over the place watching the way you live. And my promise to you is if you and I would get serious about becoming who God's called us to be, whatever it looks like today, that ripple effect becomes so much bigger and so much wider than you could have ever possibly imagined. That is how the flame of God, the call of God, the purposes of God, occupying your street, changing a city, that's how that thing spreads. It's not by us being smart or having all the answers. It's just about all of us deciding, you know what, today I'm gonna do the best I can to look at the fire of God in my heart, the flame that he gave me, the gift that he gave me, and just put a little bit more oxygen, a little bit more fuel on that so that they can get brighter and brighter so that the people around me can see what God's doing and start asking themselves, if he can do it for them, maybe, just maybe, he can do it for me. That's what I hope this room is every week. That's what I hope God's doing every week. And what's incredible about fire is that when it spreads, it doesn't kill itself in the process. You see, as this thing gets brighter, the potential in this lighter starts to ignite. And what I want you to understand is that as you chase the call of God on your life, you are giving permission for the people around you to dream again. That fire that he put inside you, all of the potential of the people around you can catch that same fire, because what God wants to do in you, he wants to do in the people around you. Timothy poured into others. And then those others poured into others. And then those others poured into others. And here we are 2,000 years later having a conversation about this very same fire that God put inside of Paul, that got passed down to Timothy, that got passed down to the next one. That's what this brick is about. It's helping you understand that this is what we believe you are. You are a part of this church today. You got a call today. You got purposes today. You got things to do today. And he's not put you on pause. He's not asking you to slow down. He's not asking you to wait. He's actually given you everything you need to catch this world on fire for his goodness. The only thing you and I got to decide to do is, are we going to get serious about it? We've been talking about Occupy All Streets all school year long. What if today was your day to decide, you know what, I'm in. I'm not playing no more games. You want to know a great way to start catching flame? You want to know a great way to get other people on fire for Jesus? You want to get a great way to use your story to change people around you? Get them to camp. I don't know if you heard earlier, but it will actually cost them nothing to be there. What if this week we all decided, you know what, we are going to invite everybody we know to camp? I think if you'll do that, I think the thing God's doing in your heart every Wednesday, God's going to show up on June 1st, June 2nd, June 3rd, and June 4th. And maybe, just maybe, you aren't the only one that's different, but you go back to school in the fall and it's different. Because the fire of God changes everything it touches. Today's your moment. Today is your day. So what does this all mean for us? You've really got three things you need to chase. First thing is you got to realize your gift's your responsibility. It's time to take some ownership. Stop making excuses for why you haven't figured out what God's called you. Start asking the questions. God, what did you give me? God, how am I gifted? The next thing is, if you're doing that part, it's time to figure out who's shaping you. It's time to get real serious about who we surround ourselves with. It's time to get serious about who we spend our time with. And if you got the first two, now it's time to give that thing to somebody else. If you will do that, my promise to you is that your city will be different. Amen? All right, let's pray.